Hey y'all, we have made it to the 10th book in our Walk Humbly Bible study series as we make our way through the book of the 12, the minor prophets in the Hebrew Bible, the minor prophets in our Old Testament. And so this 10th book is Haggai. Um, Not Haggai, like I said on Sunday. The Hebrew actually should be pronounced Haggai. Uh, Not that I'll take off any points on how you say it either. Um, but this tiny book, 2 or 3 pages in your Bible, probably just 2 short chapters, and it covers about 3 months of history for the folks in Judah and Jerusalem. And so, one thing that's kind of interesting about Haggai is that this book has a very specific date we can attach to it. So we can actually pinpoint these 3 months which are being referred to here. As the book opens, we can read in the 2nd year of King Darius, in the 6th month, on the 1st day of the month. That would actually match up to August 29th, 520 before the Common Era, 520 BC, as we might say. Now, what this specific dating helps us do is to speak very specifically about this actually being a post-exilic work, that the writing of it, but also the history of it, are taking place after the Babylonian exile. And so, following Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon's invasion of Judah and Jerusalem and the destruction there and the hauling off of the people into exile, the great deportation back to Babylon. And then historically what happens is Persia becomes the world superpower. They take over. And so the king of Persia, King Cyrus, gives his blessing for the people of Jerusalem and Judah to come back home. And they come back home with his blessing, although they're coming back to a now Persian province. So the coming back home completely is still a story to be developed. But they come back with his blessing, and they also come back with his permission to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem and to rebuild the temple. Stories we can read about in Ezra and Nehemiah. And so this story is taking place after the exile and kind of helps us understand the prophecy and history behind those stories in Ezra and Nehemiah. And it's a good thing that the people of Judah and Jerusalem are moving back toward a renewed relationship with God. Very symbolic in that is the rebuilding of the temple. As you read that story in Ezra, you will get a picture of some resistance to the rebuilding of the temple. And so here in the opening chapter of Haggai, there is this kind of preaching from Haggai to encourage the people to rebuild the temple. Haggai as a prophet is very unique, if you can say very unique. It's unique. Haggai preaches, and the people listen, and the people do what he says. It makes me so jealous. And it puts him on a unique level as a prophet, because other prophets preached and were thrown into wells. Haggai's name means festivals. I consider that kind of a prophetic name. Remember prophetic names from our initial study in the book of the 12, Hosea's sons, 2 of which are not mine and not pitied. The other son's name, Jezreel, refers to a place of great defeat. So Haggai his name is festivals. That's a little bit different than not pitied. Um, and it kind of helps us understand the story as it carries through the entirety of the book of the 12. Um, the people of Judah and Jerusalem have returned, and they have reason to celebrate. Um, so a man named Festivals says, rebuild the temple. And so their rebuilding of the temple, that itself is an act of worship, which leads to more acts of worship. By rebuilding the temple, the people are able to keep their Sabbaths as well as keep their festivals. And it's a return of the people, but also a return of the festivals, a reestablishment of their religious observance. And so the rebuilding of the temple and the keeping of Sabbaths, the keeping of the festivals gives the people opportunity to celebrate. After so much, after all that they've been through, God's people will celebrate. And what will they celebrate? From their destruction and devastation, through their exile, and from their returning, and through the rebuilding of the temple, they've recognized that God has been with them all along. What a great reason to celebrate. And that's certainly a reason to celebrate that we carry with us ourselves. So, see you Sunday as we celebrate God who is with us all along.